say that they fresh, but they just like me. I know I've been like this since I was 17. Whoa, you was trying to take my spot and I had gold. I'm a diamond plate, a level for the soul. As a later step, cause these nights ain't high gold. But it ain't in the car with the big high.
Starting off with the tac shotgun, for a long time I've been putting it B tier, and I still think in Season 7 it's B tier. It hasn't received any major changes, but the two biggest problems are still the shotgun delay, number 1, which restricts your rate of fire if you shoot, build a wall and shoot, and number 2, the draw speed is much slower than the pump. So while it's a decent choice and it can work, I don't think it's really competitive, especially when we start getting to the purple and gold spaz, but not the worst option either.
Very true. I keep it a B. Well, with the pump, the green and blue rarity is good when you are off spawn and you're fighting in tilted, and that's like the best shotgun to use. But at the very same time, there's people that know how to edit, they know how to build faster than you, and you really gotta try to aim with that gun because the spread isn't really that big in like the attack, so you gotta really aim really well. Damage is consistently 105 body shot, and right after that you get to 40. I tried it with the sentry and curative, it does it. It's a great gun for off spawn, but it does not compete with spaz. So
Okay,
keep
yeah,
that on B.
Where do you want to put it?
B.
B? Okay.
Don't worry.
So this is our first disagreement. I'm sure we'll have many, but I think it would be A tier. And the reason why I'd say that is, yes, it did get a range nerf from Season 6 to Season 7, but I don't think I would quite put it B because the blue pump has the ability to one-shot you, and also you can two-shot to the body. I think with the green pump, I'd agree it's B, but I really think the pump is at least a tier better than the attack. I can see the point, but I feel like as you get better, the pump is just going to become better than the attack because of the faster draw speed.
That's true.
So I would put it A, but I could see your argument for B as well.
Yeah, I could put it A.
All right, A? All right.
Yeah, it's just me that I'm
next up-
garbage with it, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of why we're doing this, because I think it's important to have two perspectives on it, especially because of your keyboard and controller.
Yes.
So, the spaz. This might be something that people won't agree with, but I would argue the spaz is the definition of an X-tier gun.
Oh, definitely.
And the reason why I'd say that is because the two candidates that come to mind as X-tier are the old drum gun and the old P90. And I really do think the spaz could keep up with both of those guns. The draw speed is incredibly fast. You can one-shot people, double them to the body. I do think it is the definition of an X-tier gun. The draw speed will get nerfed next season. Maybe it'll go down to S then. But honestly, I think it is a definition of a broken gun. Yes, it's high skill, but just because a gun is high skill doesn't necessarily mean it's not broken.
Yes, very true. I love that it's consistently 105 or 110 all the time, and you can really hit those nasty shots when you're building. So it's a great gun for building and a great gun for close combat. So it's X.
All right.
The regular AR. The regular AR is great. C tier, around there.
I think C is too low, because like C is like a gun that's like okay. I feel like the AR is a decent choice, like the TAC, but I really do think between your two opinions, A and C, I really think B is the right choice. It's good, but it's not like exceptional, you know?
Yeah, okay, I get it.
All right, and then Scar, I would put it 1 tier higher. I think it's a very solid choice, A tier. It's a strong gun, but it's also not a gun that I would say it's like exceptionally great, but strong. It doesn't need a nerf. I would just put it A.
That's very true. The silent Scar, I have to say S. Since I know I play controller a lot with Era right now, since I started using it. So the suppress, when you shoot it like not consistently, the spread will go really apart. But when you're using your controller with the L2 method that you're doing, it shreds people with no like, it's like consistently headshot, and there's not much spread when you do the L2 method with the silent Scar. Like when you use the regular Scar, I've seen that the spread moves a lot when you do L2 method, but with the silent Scar I do not. But probably because I haven't played controller for a while, so it probably is a myth, not a myth, but a misconception. But I say
no,
S.
what you're saying, oh, sorry. Yeah, what you're saying is totally right. In the previous seasons, L2 was really strong. This season, L2 is very inconsistent. Now, this is interesting because originally I would put it B tier, I could see the argument for A. I mean, I could see it going a little bit higher.
I'm
It's
fine
not
with
as
A.
effective close range, but the first shot accuracy reset, like you say, very quick, and it's very accurate at range. So I probably could see the argument to go to A. Um, but the problem is we also have the Scar and the AK. Is it as good?
That's
Maybe,
true.
depending on your playstyle. I mean, honestly, I would put it B, but I think I could see A as a compromise position. What do you think about that?
No, I'm fine with A.
All right, let's put it A. All right, infantry rifle. Now, look, I'm gonna be coming at this from a controller perspective. I haven't played keyboard for a long time. Controller, the infantry rifle is borderline F tier, but I would probably put it D. And the
It
reason why is because when you aim in to try and get any L2 snapping, aim assist will stick you onto the target, but you need to lead the target to hit things with the infantry rifle. So on controller, it's borderline useless. But I'm curious to say what you'll say because you're on keyboard. So
when
maybe
I
it'll be a bit better.
when I well, with my ping, it's kind of crap. I love the infantry. The damage is so good with headshots. You could really shred people with and get really good knocks. But with my ping, it takes a little bit of time for the bullet to register and hit them. So it kind of like the bullet is super slow when it comes to hitting people. So I keep it at D. Like
Yeah.
I love it. The damage is great, but it only has 8 bullets, and with my ping, it just makes it useless.
All right, yeah, then we can settle on D, and then it's you for the AK.
The AK, I personally love it way better than the Scar. It does 78 in the head, and it consistently does 44 body shot. I may be just a fanboy for the heavy since when I first played the original Fortnite when Season 7 came out. It was one of my favorites, and it still is. But I will probably put it at A tier and not just put it all straight to S, since it has really bad spread. But what I do is just single shot each time, and I don't just spray with the heavy because the spread is insane amount. You never want to spray with the heavy AR, but when you consistently just keep on tapping on your mouse, it's great.
Yeah, I think I agree with that perfectly. I think A tier is the right spot. I think it's very competitive with the Scar. As you're saying, it's very good at long range, not so good at close, so running without an SMG can be a little bit dangerous, but I think A is a great place. It's a strong gun, but it's not a clear choice over the Scar. You can pick either one.
Yes.
Let's move on to the scope they are. So, again, I'm coming at this from a controller perspective. I usually been putting it C. It's not a terrible gun, but it's also not great because, again, if you use L2 with scopes, that's very difficult to do properly. So, controller is probably D, but I recognize mouse and keyboard might be a bit better. So, for me, I put it C, but I'm curious to see what you think.
I would put it at C too. It's a really good gun. It works, but the damage wise is like terrible compared to the regular AR, the gray AR, because it only does 23 body shot, and the gray AR does 36, I believe, or 33. It's way better.
Yeah.
And also, it only holds 20 bullets, and it's not great with long range, even though it's a scoped AR. So I'll keep it at C.
Alrighty, and then you for the thermal.
The thermal, it's great for seeing through people's builds to see if anyone is in there, but I would keep it at C as well, considering there's only 15 bullets and it's loud. But the damage wise is pretty good. It's like almost the same kind of headshot damage as the Scar, but considering it's a scoped AR and it's not really fast for shooting, I would keep it at C with the scoped assault rifle as well.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Previously, I've been ranking it D, but I have heard some opinions about it being higher, also yours. I think C is the right place. I don't think it's really necessarily worse than the scope they are. They're both just kind of meh.
They both have their advantages.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good place because, like, the AK is doing almost the same damage at range, and the thermal's completely useless at close range. So I think C is a good place. All right, let's move on to the Silence SMG.
That's a good one.
Previously, I've been putting most of the SMGs in B, but I almost could see the argument for A now. I actually think the Silence SMG is the better choice than the P90, but that's really personal preference. I'm still tempted to put it B, because do I think it's as good as the Scar AK? The damage fall-off is quite severe, but I could see the argument for A for the SMGs. I'm curious to see what you think, but I think I'd say B.
This SMG is far better than the P90 by damage-wise. Because it does, well, I don't know if it's good by damage-wise for building, but it's very good for close range as a close SMG weapon. And I would rather take a suppressed SMG than the P90. Well, from our last few games, I own the guy that got 2 HP. I was using the suppressed SMG, and it did, like, it shredded him. But I would consider it at B, but I would aim a little bit higher to A since it's a little bit more headshot damage wise than the P90.
Yeah, I think I could see B or A.
You can keep it at B.
Yeah, I think B is right. I mean, it's a good option. You know, it's also like relative, because like the TAC, like, even though it's probably the same power level in a vacuum, because the spaz exists, the TAC is pretty bad. But because the Silence SMG is very good with this competition, yeah, I think B is probably right.
Yeah, we can keep it at B.
Whose turn is it for the
It's
P90?
your turn.
Is it you?
Oh wait, it's my turn.
it's me?
Okay,
No,
no,
it's
I
you,
can do
yeah.
it. Okay. All right, the P90, great gun when it first started out. 50 rounds, it shredded through builds, but it had a massive nerf in season 5 through 6, and when you see it in season 7, it's still a very good gun for shredding through builds. I don't know. I would keep it at B. I would put it at B with the Silence SMG, considering it's like a higher rarity SMG than the silencer, but I don't know. P90 and silencers are very hard comparison, since they both have almost the same amount of damage wise and spread and destroying builds. But the P90 is great for shredding through builds this season, since everyone is building 90s all the time.
Yeah, I think B is right. I think both the Silence and the P90 are honestly pretty close.
It's super hard to pick which one you really want. P90 is great for shooting through builds, and then the suppressed SMG is great for close combat.
Yeah, I think they're both great choices. I think they're both B tier guns. They're both good, strong options, but they're not really broken by any means.
Yeah.
So I think that's right. All right, hunting rifle. I've been ranking it B. I still think it's probably a B tier gun. It's a solid choice, no doubt. Is it, as good as the Scar, the Pump, the A tier gun? Maybe not. I think it's a good choice.
I would consider it as a B rarity.
Okay.
It doesn't do much body shot, but it's very good for when you're building up to a player and you're having a whole base around you. And it's really good to zoom up on your opponent and see what they're doing before they shoot it back at you. So it's very good for zooming up on your opponent before they even know what you're going to do. And it's also very good with headshot, but it's very hard to aim since there's no scope. But it is a B. It's a B tier. I love the hunting rifle.
Okay. I think it's you for the Silence.
Alright, the Silence, I really don't know. It's a hard one since it only does 100 damage body shot, but the reload speed is very slow as well, and so is the heavy. I really don't know. Probably B. It does do high damage to opponents and headshot damage, but it doesn't do much build damage as the hunting rifle and the heavy.
Yeah,
it's hard to know because I haven't used it in a while since I've been busy, but I did play a few games today with the suppress and I was doing pretty good with it, so I would probably put it around B.
I think B is the right choice. It's definitely a good, viable option. It's basically the bolt action. You get a little less damage, but you get a silencer. Honestly, it's basically the same gun. I think it's a good choice. I think you're right. It's a good choice. Competitive with the hunting,
Especially,
but nothing broke.
oh, I forgot to say, it's very good for long range since this is a suppressor.
That's
Remind
true,
me of that. And it's very good for like sneaking up on your opponent, and they don't know where you shot it from because it's suppressed and it's a little dense audio. Since like the heavy is like loud, you know where it came from, and the hunting rifle has that ricochet sound as well when it hits the builds, so you know like where it's going. But the suppress is like super quiet, and you can really barely hear it. It's really good for long range. So yeah, B tier.
Yeah, I think B's good. All right, now the heavy sniper, I do think it is an A tier sniper. I do think it's a step above the hunting and silent sniper.
Oh, very true.
Really, two reasons. One, you can 150 people to the body, so if they only have 150 health, all you got to do is hit a body shot and they're done. And number two, being able to one-shot walls is a pretty big advantage. You just jump in their box, one-shot their wall, and they're done at that point if they're not actively ready for it. So I do think the heavy sniper is a step above. Doesn't mean the hunting rifle and silence aren't viable choices too, but I do think it's overall a little bit better.
Oh yeah, the heavy is one of the best options for a sniper. All right, for the dual pistols, they're great for close combat and for damage wise. 86 damage in the head and 44 body shot with the purple rarity. And it doesn't do very well with long range, but it does do fairly good fighting builds. So I would put it around B tier.
Okay, I can see the argument for B. Now, I would agree in a vacuum if it was just like by itself and you couldn't switch guns, it would be B, because you're right, the damage is pretty insane. And the DPS is not bad either. The one big problem with the dual pistols is the draw speed is so slow. So if you go pump to dual pistols, it takes significantly longer to fire than pump to SMG. So for that reason, I was previously putting it C tier, but I could see the argument. I would be willing to go to B because if you can get around that draw speed, you are right. The damage is pretty ridiculous. So I think I could go to B.
You can go to B.
Alright. Scope revolver. The scope revolver is just not good. I mean, on controller, it's borderline F tier again, because any scope weapon, you know, besides the snipers, it's not going to work that great because it doesn't synergize too well with L2. I think I would put it D. I think the damage is 42-44, which is like not even really much better than the AK at range, so I don't really see a reason to carry this thing. So I do think it's D. It's not completely useless, but it's bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So we're good with D?
Yeah.
Okay.
Silence pistol, I gotta say around C tier. Like, it's a great gun for off spawn, but if you keep it with you, it doesn't do great damage wise compared to the dual pistols and like the ARs, and it does less body damage to the compared to the SMGs, so it's kind of useless in other areas, but it's good off spawn, so around C tier.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. There's not much more to add. It's a decent choice, but I don't really see people taking it over the SMG if you really want to be super competitive. Okay, pistol is pretty much the same conversation. It's just worse. Doing less than 25 damage. You need 5 shots early game to take someone out instead of 4, so that's a pretty big difference, honestly. It's pretty bad. It's not F tier, but it's not good either.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, the hand cannon. It got a massive nerf to builds, so I would put it at A tier, or probably S tier if it still had the same statistics as last season, but consider the nerf for the builds, I would probably put it at B.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly what I was thinking.
It's so good, but with headshot damage, 158, I think, or 56, I can't remember, and 78 considering how far you are. It's so good for destroying wood builds still, but it's very hard to shoot the builds with brick and metal since it doesn't do one shot anymore. But it's very good pistol and damage wise, but still good.
Yeah, I think you got it spot on. Season 5, I was putting it C before the buffs of the long range damage and the structure damage. Then I think it was S in Season 6. I think B is a good place now. It like you're saying, it's a decent choice. It does a lot of damage, but basically if they switch to metal, you're basically hard countered. You can't one-shot anything anymore. So while it's a decent option, yeah, I think B is right. It's no longer this gun that like you should be absolutely be carrying. Then the minigun, it's an interesting conversation. Some people would argue got nerfed because you can't fire it indefinitely, but I would argue it's better because one, it winds up faster, and two, you can use this thing as an anti-air gun against planes, and you can shred them in 4 to 5 seconds. So I would put it B now. I think it's a decent choice. I
if
think
you
it's
have
better
if you yeah, it is better than last season. I completely agree, and it's pretty bad if you don't have enough ammo, considering it's not a mag, it's like an actual like giant minigun. So
Yeah.
it's good for destroying builds and shooting people down, their structures, but it's a B tier. I got nothing. You kind of already did everything. I completely agree. RPG.
You did get a
tier
reload
for me.
nerf, so that is something to think about. I would probably still say it's A tier if you can find it, but
Oh yeah,
with
A
the,
tier.
I still think it's great. If you find it, you're probably going to take it, but like you said, you find it never, so really it shouldn't even be in this ranking because you don't find it, but yeah, I think A tier is good.
Yeah.
Okay, grenade launcher. I think the grenade launcher is still a B tier option. It's still good if you want to run it, but it's also not. It's not amazing either. At long range, it's completely useless. So you have to be at least medium range. So it's a decent choice, but not anything super strong either.
Yeah. It does take a while for it to explode, like shooting it on builds. But it's very good. All right, the dynamite. I don't really know. I probably put it around C, because it does do a lot of build damage, like insane amount of area it destroys. Like it's very good for locating people in buildings, but it doesn't do very good in damage wise, only doing like 50 or 60 damage, I think. And it takes forever for it to blow up, but it's still good for destroying builds. So I'll put it around C tier.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think a lot of these utility items are just kind of okay. They're decent early game. You might carry them and blow up an entire house, which is fun. But like, are you really gonna carry dynamite into the end game when you could be taking an SMG or a sniper? I really don't think so.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's all right. C. Grenades, honestly, D to C, maybe C. They're all right. I mean, early game.
If you
know,
have
they
a
can
whole
blow
like,
things up.
if you have like 10 of them, and you're at the end game, they're probably very useful. But yeah, probably put around D, since
Yeah, I could go D.
They're not that powerful anymore.
Yeah.
The clingers
It's
though,
just okay.
the clingers are pretty good since it goes on and sticks on people's builds, and then you can also stick it on people. And then what's funny is that what we could do with clingers is that you can put it on your teammate. They'll run up to the enemy with like 3 of them on them, and then just blow the enemies up. It's pretty fun. But without the memeing, I would put it around C tier. Considering it does
I
like
agree.
really good build damage wise, like the dynamite, and it sticks on that specific build, so you can like aim the clinger at a specific area that you want to blow up and probably kill your opponent.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. C, it's all right. Yeah, would I carry an end game? No, but
No.
like you're saying, you can have some joke strategies with it. It's all right. The bottle rockets, I think is an F here. This
That's
just
just straight F.
I mean, I can't think of any usage beyond harassing people. I mean, you could harass people, but that's all.
I've done it before. It's fun, but it only does 10 damage. It's kind of useless. And
yeah,
that's
if
like
you're carrying this.
and it does 15 damage to the builds, I think. But it does kind of do pretty good against builds, but it's pretty terrible. The stink bombs, I don't know really. Like, I don't really use them that much, but they are very good when you have your teammate like hiding in a box and you have them in your inventory and you could just stink them to death, really, since they're probably low. So I would probably put that in D tier, considering no one is gonna take stink bombs in the end game, and they only do 5 damage, and most of the time your teammate moves around, or not your teammate, the enemy moves around a bunch, and probably is running away from the guy since you can see it, and it's kind of a useless item, but when they're boxed up and trying to heal, it's perfect.
Yeah, I think I would go C. I don't think they're quite like pistol level bad. The one thing is if someone's turtling, you can throw these and you can force them out of their box.
That's true.
I could see D. They're not great, but I feel like they're like at the level of dynamite or clingers to being like okay.
Yeah,
I would probably go C.
They are pretty good considering how many you hold. So yeah, C tier. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, now spike traps. It just depends on how you play and how good you are. Like if you're new to the game, they're probably D tier, but if you're really good, they could be A.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, I would probably go between B and A. Maybe B because not everyone can use them super well if you're not insanely good. So I feel like B is probably the good choice. But I'm curious to see what you think.
I don't really use traps that much. Like they're kind of good if you know how to use it, especially when you're having a build fight and you box up someone and you put your trap on your wall, and then they're stuck and they can't really react fast enough since there's a trap, and like, oh no, what do? I can't edit because this is not my build, and they can die like really easily. But I don't really have, I'm not that skilled with the traps, so I would put it around B tier.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good compromise between like how good you are, how effective they'll be. Yeah.
The turret is so much fun shooting down planes, but in an actual battle, it's very, very useless considering there's snipers that can, because you're sitting still. You're in a mountain turret, you can't move anywhere except for your head, and that's like the best place to kill someone with a sniper, and they're kind of useless when you're fighting people with snipers, but if you're using it in the late game and you have a whole bunch of them, it is very fun. But I would put it around D tier since you don't really carry them like for a while, or you like forget that you have it, because some people do that. They forget that they have a mountain turret that they could use. But I would put it around D since it's not really that useful sometimes in the late game, since everyone has snipers and actual really good ARs that could just spray you while you're just not knowing where you're being shot at, and you'd be knocked in like a few seconds.
Yeah, I think D is right. That they're situationally, like I had one scenario where I was like in a bush, like a bush with a turret. You could stop them from getting sniped, so they can like be useful in like 1 in 100 scenarios. But I think I agree with you. They're D. I mean, honestly, I dropped them out of my inventory before that game because they get in the way.
Yeah,
it's bad. The one other use I saw someone say is you could like put it inside someone's box to stop them from building a cone, which is situationally maybe useful, but
that's not
just overall.
But
not
that's not, well, if you're thinking about it, your enemy can literally go into your own turret and shoot you, and they're in your own box that you box them up. So that would probably be a bad idea. But if you're fighting someone that is like doesn't have like that fast reflex, yes, that is very good considering that they cannot build, and they probably will start building thinking that they can like build a stair, and they won't, so you have an advantage of shooting them in the head with your shotgun or whatever you're using.
Yeah, so I think D is a good pick. It's bad. There are a couple uses we could think of, but they're just bad overall.
They're pretty bad.